Evening, folks. Captain Bill here, and we're in southern Marin County, California, out on a beautiful May day in the open space. The idea being that we had the ashes of our last, our Brittany, Joey, Big Joey we call him, who left us last December at 16 and a half years old. And I just wanted to come up here with his ashes and spread them on this hill. Because he was an outdoor dog. He was a hunter. Brittany's are pheasant hunters and quail hunters. They're upland game dogs. And he loved being out in the open space. This was one of his favorite areas. And so the idea being that we spread his ashes here, and then when we can't make decisions anymore, instead of our relatives or attendants dumping his ashes in the trash can, I'll know where he is from now until that time arrives, and we'll come up here and visit him every other day, and he'll be in this gorgeous open space with a view of Mount Tamalpais on the one side and the San Francisco Bay on the other. A little background on Big Joey. We called him Big Joey because he was way beyond the Brittany standards, which are about 35 pounds, about 21 inches at the shoulder. He was bigger than that, but he was bony, had a big frame. He was not fat. He was with a family over in the East Bay. It was a dysfunctional relationship. They finally got tired of him at age 3, and they took him over to a shelter and dumped him off. Joey somehow got sideways with the staff. I don't know what happened, but they put him up at the top of the roster for euthanasia the next day. Fortunately, American Brittany Rescue, which is a national organization, found out about it, came over, rescued him, and placed him with a lawyer not a few miles from here in a foster situation. At the time, we were losing Blazer, who was a 15-year-old, and he was starting to have problems, so my wife Claire thought that it would be nice for us to have, or for him to have, another dog as companionship during this phase of his life. So we went over to the lawyer's home and ended up adopting Joey. Brought him back home, and 7 months later, Blazer passed on. Normal thing, and except for Joey, he went into a debilitating depression that caused him to lose 8 pounds. He lost 8 pounds, and he ran around in the backyard all day, according to the neighbors, while we were at work. So my wife Claire said, well, we've had enough of this. So she went on the net again, found another ABR foster by the name of Brady, a little guy that looked very much like Blazer, the one we just lost. And so we adopted him, brought him home, and it was instant palship between Joey and Brady. They just had a terrific time, and from that point on, Joey was back to his old self, out of his depression. So for the next 13 and a half years, Joey had the best of lives. He had, homemade food that my wife Claire made for him, mixed with kibble, and we kept him in very, very good shape. Our mantra is exercise, discipline, and affection in that order, and that's what these dogs have. They're disciplined in a social situation and also out in the field. And Joey had a personality. He was very humble, not a showboat or anything. He did what needed to be done in a journeyman-like manner. He would listen to my commands, my voice commands, my whistle commands in the field, and he just accommodated himself to our lifestyle and what we wanted him to do. He loved to go bird hunting out of Bird's Landing here up the road, and we also went hiking, obviously, and mountain biking with a bungee cord. You don't want to hear about that. But he just relished his new life, and you could tell that he was comparing his old situation with his new. So last December, he started showing signs of aging and declined to the point where he was kind of in a coma. So we took him on up to our favorite vet, Stan Goldfarb, who has attended all of our Brittany's. Joey's number 4. Brady, who's looking right at me right now, is number 5. He's 12 years old. And did a beautiful job. And he went on out. Ashes ended up in a beautiful cedar little box. We brought him up with us today. We're going to spread the ashes And eventually, you know, as I said, we'll end up here instead of some cemetery somewhere. So I wanted to, you know, he'll be up here with his the red-tailed hawks and the ravens and the quails and his coyote frenemies. He had a number of encounters with coyotes up here, and there's a herd of about a dozen horses. He had an incident one time that led him to believe that they're trying to kill him. They never got over that. They weren't, but anyway, that was Joey. So we think he'll love this last resting place. We're not going to say goodbye. We're going to say farewell, kind of a hasta la vista type of thing, because we will be coming up here every other day, say hello to him. And I wanted to end up with a poem written by Robert C. Williams back in 1986, obviously a guy who had hunters. It's called Mark Well My Flight. I hung my coat upon the peg, a feather fell, so did a tear. He was there to mark their fall, my loved and loving Brit. Mon bon fils Joey, a puppy yet in many ways, has found another field to hunt. At times he'd range afar, just I think to prove that he still could. But oh, the tingling joy he gave, with looping casts and head-high point, with quick retrieve, then on to find another bird. Hear this, Big Joey, mark well my flight, for we shall hunt again as one someday.
This is Big Joey. He's a Brittany we rescued from the pound about 8 years ago. He's big for a Brittany, about 55 pounds, but he has certain needs. One of them is every morning before I go to work, he wants what I call a head bone. That's a head massage. So we give him a head massage, and that starts his day out right.